sometimes it can just be a little fun to mix things up. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today I've got a little bit of a fun video for you. But before we get into that, make sure you're liking and subscribing, hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also, make sure you're checking that description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as links to all my social media and information about my Patreon. And imagine my surprise when, about a week ago, I'm just kind of scrolling through YouTube, as one does, and all of a sudden I see I've been mentioned in a video. And it's from my buddy Jonathan from Words in Time, and he did this kind of exercise where he's just like, I'm going to take 20 authors and 20 books, shuffle it all up, and we'll kind of see what happens. So basically the premise here is I've got two hats right over here, and I've put 20 authors, and then I've taken 20 books that these authors have written, and I put them in another hat. And I mix them all up, and then I just randomly draw, and then I've kind of got to justify, like, what author has written a new book. So basically, like, I could end up with John Gwynne writing A Way of Kings, or Orson Scott Card writing 11/22/63, things of that nature. And because I do sci-fi, fantasy, and horror occasionally, I've decided to pull from all of these things. Jonathan only did sci-fi, so I'm probably made things harder for myself than I need to. But I just thought this was a little bit of a fun exercise / challenge. And before I really get going, I'm going to go ahead and just challenge some people to do this. And specifically, I want to challenge Holly from Holly Hearts Books. I want to challenge Bryce from Shelf Centered, Jake from Jake Bishop, and my good friend Joanna. And I also want to challenge Abby Salter to do this one as well. I think all of these people can have different style of books and tastes and all that, and it would make for interesting videos. So I'm going to challenge all of you to do this, and then we're just going to dive in and see what happens. So like I said, I've got two random hats. They're full of little slips of paper. I'll stick them right there in my lap. I'm going to just kind of mix them up a little bit. Please don't fall out. Okay, they've been mixed. Okay, which one's which? Okay, so this is the author. So not looking. My first author is Brandon Sanderson. What is Brandon Sanderson going to be writing? One has fallen out. So we're going to check that up. Brandon Sanderson writes Assassin's Apprentice. I actually don't think this is going to work out well. Mainly because what Robin Hobb does really well is she gets deep into those characters. And I think Brandon Sanderson focuses more on a strong, hard magic system, an interesting world, which is not quite what Assassins, or actually the whole Realm of the Elderlings is. I think the Realm of the Elderlings is it's a character-focused world that slowly reveals, after each entry, a little bit more of its lore. Brandon Sanderson is more of a action, hard magic. He can do character interaction, but I don't think he can quite hit that anguish that Robin Hobb can kind of tap into. So I don't think that this book would be a bestseller. All right. So our next author is going to be, James S.A. Corey. So this is Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank, and these are the authors of The Expanse. So they are going to be writing... Oh, no, we got to go back in because I pulled their book. So... let's go back in and pull another one. Writes The Eye of the World. This absolutely will not work. I love James S.A. Corey, and I think they write very entertaining stories. However, they are not the most well-crafted, or they're not very good at world building. And one thing with the Wheel of Time is you have to have good world building, because if you're not planning all of that out, start to finish... in fact, I recently watched a video from my buddy Nico's where he's kind of nitpicking some early stuff that was in The Eye of the World that foreshadows the end of this series. It was all laid out. And I've read 4 James S.A. Corey books, and I'm not getting that feel. So I feel like The Eye of the World would be an even hotter mess than it already is. Even though I love it, it's my favorite series of all time, I also do not think this would work. Alright, so far things are going swimmingly. We've got Adrian Chaikovsky. Writing Monster Hunter International. Now, I actually do think this one could work. I think it would be a little bit more difficult for Adrian Chaikovsky to pull it off. But Monster Hunter International is by Larry Correia. And it's very macho, machismo, urban fantasy where it's got, like, eldritch horror elements and, like, you know, private firms who hunt, like, creatures of the night for, like, you know, it's called puff, which is just government money, large sums of government money. But I think Adrian Chaikovsky is dynamic enough that I think he could pull it off. So this is the first one that I am optimistic that it might just work out. All right, so pulling again. We've got Joe Abercrombie, and what is Joe Abercrombie? No, Joe Abercrombie writing Otherland, City of Golden Shadow. That's not going to work. Specifically, Joe Abercrombie is another one of those character authors. But Otherland is written by Tad Williams, and I don't see them as being the same type of authors. I feel like I've shot myself in the foot here, guys, because even though there's some gritty details in Tad Williams' writing that, you know, Joe Abercrombie, like if we were talking Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, maybe. And if we were talking Bobby Dollar, absolutely. But I put in Otherland, and I don't think that's going to work because it's like a fantasy sci-fi, VR mashup thing. And I just don't think he can pull it off because, like, it's just, the tone, I don't think he'll be able to hit that tone or be able to tie in all of these really complex plot threads and make them all sing the way Tad Williams does. So that's another one that just doesn't work. I've made poor decisions. I literally just got out a slip of paper and wrote these real quick. So, this is what happens. Robert Jordan writing The Way of Kings. Oh, this is an interesting one. Mainly because Brandon Sanderson finished The Wheel of Time. And if Robert Jordan could come back and write The Way of Kings or the Stormlight Archive, I think he could do it. And this could just be me being a fanboy. I think Robert Jordan could probably pull it off. It may not have that, like, epicness that Brandon Sanderson kind of injects, but I think that Robert Jordan is a good enough author and great at world building, and he's great at lore building and things of that nature. Like, I mean, supposedly there's tomes and tomes of just lore that went into just the Wheel of Time. So I think Robert Jordan is technical enough with his world building and his character work to do a good spin on the Way of Kings. So I like this one. I would read that. I would read that just to see what happens. All right, we've got Anthony Ryan writing A Plague of Giants. I also think this one could work. Plague of Giants is written by Kevin Hearn. And the only thing that I think would suffer is Plague of Giants has a fair bit of humor in it. Like funny humor. To the point where, like, I don't know if Anthony Ryan... Like, I think Anthony Ryan could come in and make Plague of Giants technically better, because Anthony Ryan is a fantastic technical author. But then again, I think it might lose a little bit of the humor. So I think the tone of the book would shift, but I also think that it would work. And it would be a completely different style of story. It would be much more serious, maybe even a little bit darker. But I think that would be a good, compelling story. That actually makes me excited. I think that would be awesome. So we've got 3 out of the 20 that I think would work so far. All right, I looked, so I'm gonna just kind of shuffle up this one again. I cheated a little bit. So we've got a random pick, and we're gonna. Okay, let's see what we've got. We've got Christopher Rocchio writing Ender's Game. So we've got sci-fi and sci-fi. Huh. I think this would be awesome. Mainly because I think Christopher Rocchio can't write a bad book at this point in his career. And Ender's Game was probably my favorite book back when I was in middle school. And it's got just a lot of tactics and a lot of politics, which Christopher Rocchio is really good at. But I think he could take the character of Ender Wiggin and really elevate him. I could see this being awesome. I think the battle school scenes part of Ender's Game might suffer, but at the same time, I think we would get a more compelling alien race than the buggers. And so, yeah, I think Christopher Rocchio could actually elevate Ender's Game. So that's 4. 4 out of 20. I mean, that's not the worst so far, but, you know, we'll see. All right, we've got Drew Hayes. Oh, this works so well. I would read the crap out of this. We've got Drew Hayes, author of, like, Fred the Vampire Accountant, Superpowers, NPCs, Villain's Code. So he does a lot of, like, self-pub, really fun books with some great humor, and I pulled Unsold by Will White. And so I think Drew Hayes would... I think that they're very, very comparable. Like, if you love Drew Hayes, you're probably going to love Will White's writing, and vice versa. So, I mean, they're pretty much carbon copies. So, yes, this just works. I think Drew Hayes could do a great job with a progression fantasy. So, yeah, that's a no-brainer. So, we're batting 25% here in the hat draws. Okay. Who we've got? We've got my good buddy Daniel Barnett writing Leviathan Wakes. You know, Daniel, I don't know if you've ever considered writing sci-fi, but one of the cool things about Leviathan Wakes is it's a surprisingly dark story. And the Nightmareland Chronicles, which is what I've read by Daniel, it's horror. And so there are some horrific elements into Leviathan Wakes. And frankly, like, the character interaction in Leviathan Wakes is really good. I would be interested to see this, mainly because I think Daniel could do a passable job. Now, it's the sci-fi element where I think we might have some issues, but then again, like, I've been surprised every time I've picked up a Daniel Barnett book. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm probably going to love that book, and then I'm like, he exceeds my expectations. So, I mean, they're close enough. Like, there are some dark, dark themes in Leviathan Wakes, and I think Daniel could do it. Yeah, no, I'm gonna call that a win. All right. I peeked again on accident, guys. I'm sorry. Don't pop out of the hat. Okay, we're shuffling around. We're gonna pick this one, and we're gonna pick this one. We've got Terry Pratchett writing Empire of Silence. This doesn't work. I love Terry Pratchett. I think he is a fantastic, funny author. And there's some funny moments in Empire of Silence, but no, I don't think he could pull this off. Not even remotely. Like, there's very few authors that were in these hats that could pull off Christopher Rocchio's Empire of Silence. So this, unfortunately, just it's a miss. Which, I mean, it just is what it is. I wouldn't read that. All right, so we've got, who do we have? Oh no, come back. We've got John Gwynne writing Stormfront by Jim Butcher. John Gwynne writing Stormfront. I mean, like, they're comparable in prose a little bit. And I could see John Gwynne easily, like, post changes, I could almost see that. But for Stormfront, I don't know. Like, I mean, John Gwynne does Norse. And so I think he would do a strong effort, and we would probably get something closer to, like, the Iron Druid Chronicles than Dresden, which, I mean, again, it's very close. But no, I think if this had been Iron Druid, we might have something there. I'm gonna say this is a miss. I'm not saying it'd be a bad book. I would read it, but I don't know. Like, I'm dubious on that one. So that one's a no. All right. We've got Kevin Hearn, speaking of the Iron Druid Chronicles, writing Guns of the Dawn. Let's see, Kevin Hearn writing Guns of the Dawn. Guns of the Dawn would be a funnier book, but, no, that doesn't work. Don't get me wrong, like, Kevin Hearn writes really good, like, fantasy, but I don't think he could capture the character interaction, mainly because a lot of what Kevin Hearn does is he'll take a really dark moment, and then he'll undercut that with just a little bit of humor to kind of push you through that difficult moment in the story. And so right here, I don't think that's gonna work. Like, it would be, no, I don't think this would be a good story. Mainly because I think he would try and quib too much. So, that one's a miss. Alright, I think we're getting closer to the end here. Mark Lawrence writing Superpowers by Drew Hayes. You know what? I think Mark Lawrence could do this. Because mainly he's done the school environment with Book of the Ancestor. And it was like a battle school environment type of deal. But what Drew Hayes did with Superpowers, it's just something super special to me. And so, yes, I think Mark Lawrence could write this book. Do I think it would be astounding? No. I like the Book of the Ancestor books. I really do. But I think there's just something about the character interactions that Nona has versus what Vince has. Nona wants to be good. She wants to be accepted. Nona's almost like a character that's on the spectrum. Like, if you're Nona's friend, you're Nona's friend. And if you betray that friendship, it's going to shatter her worldview type of deal. It hurts her very, very much. Vince, on the other hand, is willfully, like, believes in people. Kind of like Nona. So I guess I just contradicted myself there. You know what? I'm going to chalk it up to a win. I'm going to say Mark Lawrence could probably do it, but some things would change. But I think it's doable. So far in the doable, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we might end up batting 50%. Let's see. We've got... Yeah, this could work. Will White writing Guards. Now, it could work. But, again, Terry Pratchett was one of those ones that I probably shouldn't have even included in this list. Because, like, literally, Terry Pratchett is a wordsmith that comes around, like, once every 100 years. And so, like, he's, like, Shakespeare level good with words and puns and things of that nature. Will White tells humor and fun, which Pratchett could do. But I think a lot of what makes Guards special is that Pratchett twist. And I don't know of a lot of authors who are capable of pulling that off. I think right now, I'm going to have to call that this one's a miss. Mainly because as much love as I have for Will White, I don't know if he could conquer Guards. So, yeah. No, that one doesn't work. All right. So, we're getting down to the wire here. And we've got Ted Williams writing Nightfall. Oh, yeah. By Daniel Barnett. This could work. This would be awesome. Unfortunately, The Nightmareland Chronicles is a novella. And that's something that Ted Williams is incapable of doing. In my opinion. Ted Williams writes short books, and they still take forever to read because they're so complex and intricate. I think Ted Williams would kill Nightfall. However, it would become Lily length. So there is that. So take that however you will. All right, let's see who we've got left. So we've got Robin Hobb writing. Ooh, this one could work. 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I think Robin Hobb could do it, mainly because 11/22/63 deals a lot with character and character anguish, and because it's dealing with our real world, just different variations of it, I think Robin Hobb could do this. This one seems pretty easy. Yeah, I think Robin Hobb could write 11/22/63, especially with how the trajectory of that story goes. Yeah, I think this one's a no-brainer. Robin Hobb could easily write. Now, would it be a special? Probably not, because it's got that King just kind of vibe. But she could write this book, and it'd probably be a bestseller. All right, we've got Stephen King, speak of the man himself, writing Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. Do I think Cy King could pull this off? A little bit, yeah. Mainly because it's told from a chronicler's perspective of Valen telling his story. And so a lot of what Stephen King does is when he's delivering the story to you, you'll get little snippets of, like, what is to come. And so I think that could work within Blood Song. I mean, for The Dark Tower, we know Stephen King can write a darker fantasy. So I think this one would be interesting. It's not something that Stephen King would, willingly write. I don't think it's weird enough for Stephen King. But as kind of like I'm gonna say a tentative possibly. So yes, maybe. All right, so we're getting down to the wire here, and we've got Jim Butcher writing The Blade itself. And I think Butcher could do this, but at the same time, I don't think it would be as good. I don't think this would be as big of a bestseller or as big as a thing as like if Joe Abercrombie, was writing his own story. Now, granted, if we're talking like Butcher during Changes or like Skin Game or Cold Days, those are like his darker stories. And then, yeah, I mean, it's possible, but I think it's unlikely. Mainly because I think Jim Butcher would want to put more story elements onto the Blade itself, and I'm not entirely sure if that would work. I'm going to tentatively say no on this, as much as it pains me to do it, just because the more I started talking, the more I talked myself out of it. All right, we've got 2 left, I think. We've got Orson Scott Card writing Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. I don't know. Writing Prince of Thorns, Orson Scott Card. Well, yeah, no, I think this could work, mainly because there is a bit of a sci-fi element to Prince of Thorns, and there is, so Ender's Shadow by Orson Scott Card had some really dark themes in it. So did Speaker for the Dead, that kind of got a little bit on the weird side. And I actually, the more I start talking, I'm actually talking myself into this. I think Orson Scott Card could possibly pull this off. So we're going to say yes. All right, and then our last one is Larry Correia writing Malice. And yes, this would work. I think, however, we would get some more quibs within the story, but I do think Larry Correia could probably pull this off. That said, guys, that is 20 authors and 20 books. We jumbled them all up and made them write each other's stories. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought. Do you agree with my picks here, my opinions? I would love to know. And that's really all I've got here for you. So, till next time, guys. Peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.